So when it comes to the essentials, and I'm talking about the serious fundamentals of selling, are you really clear on what things you absolutely have to do? And that's what I want to answer in this video with 3 tips. So there's quite a few videos I've been doing recently about the essentials of selling and the basics of selling, and I've been selling various different things from marketing online through to physical products for closing on 20 years now, and I'm now brought into the city many times. I'm going in fact tomorrow to London to coach different companies on the essentials of sales, because when you get the fundamentals right, the rest of it is the art and the whole, it's the whole personality that comes through that really gets the sale, but those essentials are probably more important than anything else. So there's 3 things I want to talk about today that are seriously fundamental level, and so there are plenty of things we can talk about, but these 3 things absolutely have to be done if you're going to have any kind of measurable success, especially long term, but more importantly on a consistent level as well. The first thing, this is no particular order, but 3 things that are really important. The first thing is when it comes to leads, unless you're given leads from your company, and even then this still is true, every day if you are selling, if you're biz deving, you need brand new leads. Every day, without exception. Have you got a massive pile of 500 leads? Good for you. Every day, add more to the pile. Maybe it's just 10 new leads, 10 new cool contacts you're going to reach out to. And sub point B, if you like, on this is that in addition to having new leads every day, you should call them first. Now here's why. What people do is they put them on the bottom of their pile and they call the ones they've already got and think, oh great, I just keep adding to the pile, but I've got to call the ones I've already got. No, call leads that are fresh and new first. Here's why. If you've tried one before, you're going to do that thing where you dial, and even a small part of your subconscious is going to be saying, oh yeah, we've called this one, yeah, didn't get through last time, oh yeah, or I messed up and the secretary didn't like me as much, or whatever, I screwed that one up. You have some kind of judgment about it. I didn't get through last time is enough for you to maybe change your conception of, if this is going to turn into anything. So absolutely, you call them first. It might be 20 minutes, then they're gone. Then you carry on with the ones you had before. 10 or so minimum new leads every day. Maybe it's more for you. And then of course you move on to the existing leads that you already had. So that's step number 1. The second thing is when you actually go into the calls themselves, you've got to be, or meetings, but also on calls, but it doesn't matter either way. You've got to be thinking to yourself about how you're selling. For many of you, it's clear that there is an existing solution or service provider in place. So what I'm talking about here is you going in with the solution, and the person that you're selling to says, well, I've already got a service, thank you so much. I've already got that software. We're already working with someone, we're really pleased, we're happy with what we've got. And what happens for many is they do one of 2 things. A, they give up, stupidity, because you might as well have just not called in the first place. Or B, they fight. Now, let's be really clear here, and it's, I believe, unenlightened people who think the right thing to do is push and argue. If you are setting out with a strategy of trying to prove someone wrong by saying, well, you've got the wrong software, well, it won't be as good as ours, and trying to pick holes in what they're doing, you're basically calling them out on a business decision that they've made and said you were wrong. And it's stupidity, because what you're doing is just saying, you, who are probably quite happy with the people who have supplied you, have made the wrong business call, and now you're talking about affecting their ego. Bad idea. Far better, if someone says, yeah, we're quite happy, thanks, is to be more disarming. If you argue that they're wrong or try and prove that they're with the wrong supplier, what you're going to do is bring barriers up. The most important thing when it comes to closing a sale is that you have a connection or rapport, because that won't, otherwise you've just got no reason, they've got no reason to really want to buy from you. Product will never be enough. It has to be a connection as well. So there's trust and feeling comfortable with working with you. So what happens is you, instead of saying, oh no, you're wrong, or words to the effect of you should be with us, instead it would be far better, or something stupid like let me offer you a discount, so you suddenly drop the solution provider that they've been in bed with for years and go with you. It doesn't work like that at all. You need to say, okay, let's leave the selling for a moment. Tell me, just give me almost like a survey. Tell me a bit about, the service you've got then? Why is it that it's so good? Just to help me. Even if you make out like you're not going to try and sell them and take the pressure off, suddenly people are quite happy to be open with you. Say, okay, no problem, thanks for sharing that. So just out of interest, because this can help me in the future, is a really good line to use. What is it about the service that you have that is so good? You know, why is it that you work with them? What is the thing that made you believe that it was you know, the right place to go with, and what's making you feel so happy about it? And they're going to share that. What's happening here is two things. Firstly, of course, they're telling you how good the service is. We don't want to get them on that for too long because they're going to be selling themselves on how wonderful it is. We're going to move on in the strategy in a second, but what's also happening is that they're opening up. Often this is a cold call, and what they're now saying to you is, you know, I'm talking to you and I'm happy to open up and talk. You want to be disarming so they don't feel there's pressure, so they don't want to get you off the phone. What your problem is right now isn't that they're not buying your product, it's that they don't want to talk to you. So you need to get them chatting. Okay, so tell me about the product, tell me about the software, what is it that's working, and so on and so forth. And once they get talking, then of course, they'll be more comfortable with talking, so you can ask them the next natural question is, okay, so if you were to improve the software you've got, what would it be that you need to do? Okay, and if they say, oh no, it's fine, we don't need to change anything, you haven't talked enough. And if they say that as well, you can always say, yeah, but if you were to change something, what would it be? That's always a nice response. And then they'll give you a few little holes they pick into it. There's the point where you can say, well, here are things that we can do to help. And then you have an opportunity, that's your best opportunity to actually try and close them there. The thing is, sometimes, and this will come to the next point in a sec, but sometimes you just got to hang in there, because actually the thing they would change is so minimal it doesn't really matter to them. But sometimes they've been chatting loads, they're happy to open up, and it's something they really have, like really winds them up, and that's where you can win. Otherwise, you're probably not going to get a sale on that one call. The third point here, the third fundamental, leads on from there, which is recognizing not everyone is going to buy straight away. No matter how good you are at sales, you will not close every single one on the first call. Don't care how good you think you are. You're dealing with people here. They have their own agendas, own motivations. Sometimes people just aren't in the mood, they had a bad day, and then you go call it. It's not your fault. So what you're going to think about is the important strategy of staying in touch for time. And there's this stat that I heard recently, I kind of buy into it, and it depends on what the products are, of course, but it tends to be someone who's been interested in the product it's like something like 15% of who's interested in a product tend to buy it within the first 90 days of showing an interest in a product. So maybe if they're a lead because they've shown an interest, maybe they've bought one of your lead magnets or something like that. But the rest of the people tend to buy up to 2 years later. So the tip here, the third fundamental, is that you have to stay in touch. And a very successful CEO who's worth several tens of millions of pounds recently told me, you know, he said, what I've always done, Richard, is even if I've got nothing, I always make a point of returning to those prospects every month. So the longest that they go without hearing from me is a month. Because it might be I put down the phone and then they have a need suddenly. They might have forgotten about me, but at least it's only 4 or so weeks until you get back in touch with them. And leaving it a month means that you can get back in touch and say, hey, I saw that this happened, or, you know, I saw that you support this football team and they lost the other day. It gives you an opportunity to have a chat. Just wanted to connect, just to check in and see how you're doing. Not always to try and sell, just to check in. And maybe so often you get one who says, do you know what? I was thinking about you the other day. I'm really glad you called. Or, do you know what? There's a guy I was speaking to, and now that you called, actually there's this that could happen. It's always worth doing, because if the guy does need you, you're in. Okay, so it's always worth doing that. So those 2 fundamentals are essential. New leads and call them first. Okay, then when you're on the phone, don't say they're wrong with the solution they've got. Work around it by inviting them to tell you what is good about their service, and then moving to how they might improve it, and that's where you can jump in. And then thirdly, of course, make sure you follow up. It might be up to 2 years. One of my best ever clients, I'll just leave you with this. One of my best ever clients was over 6 months of just being in touch, and I thought, that's a perfect client. It's someone I would love to work with. We hit it off straight away, but it wasn't the right time. Just over 6 months later, they moved to a position where they needed someone, and I was there, and they came to me, and they were like, without hesitation, you're the guy. And it was like, if I hadn't stayed in touch a little bit every so often, I would never have got that sale. And then they turned into a vast client for me, and and there was a massive amount of revenue, so it's worth hanging in there. Just stop looking at the short profit game. it's stupidity. Sure, you might have to get bread and butter sales to keep the lights on, but ultimately you really win when you play the long profit game. Do you know what? We're aligned. I could service you. You need my kind of service. I know now's not the right time. So let's focus on relationship building. And when the time's right, then we'll be able to strike. And you never know, I mean, it's happened so many times in my career. People I hit it off with, be a good guy to and stay in touch with, eventually they come around when the time's right, and there you go. It might be up to 2 years, but ultimately you get the sale. And if you keep working like that, eventually they keep rolling in. It does work. Hope that helps. Subscribe to this channel if you find this stuff useful. Please as well like this, or don't like it if you don't enjoy it at all, but tell me why. Shove something in the comments. If you're a salesperson yourself, I would love to hear from you. What fundamentals do you like? But otherwise, thanks so much, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers so much for watching.